Well, so the YouTube bots are a little cleverer than I would have thought. I didn't think I was going to have a problem while streaming live. I thought I was only going to have an issue when this became archived. But no. No, so apparently the bots picked up that I was reading a copyrighted manuscript and shut it down. Oh, clever buggers. Last minute changes are tight, yeah. So this will just be us hanging out basically probably until my water goes cold. Are you in the bath? Yes. They shut you down real quick. Yeah, I know. I was, like, it's annoying that it happened that fast, but, like, honestly, props to the bots because this is not exactly particularly well-known text, and I didn't think they would detect that I was reading something copyrighted while I was reading it live. I only thought it was going to be an issue with the if I tried to archive it, but no, they caught that dang quick. Yes, Bubbles. Why would you take a bath if you're not going to have bubbles? My goodness. Darn it! I was looking forward to getting a bedtime story. Well, here's what I may consider. We'll see, and folks would have to realize it's a work in progress. So if you want to hear dramatic readings from me, I may, at a later point, opt to read a chapter from my own work in progress that I'm going to wait until things calm down again before I start a Kickstarter to get that thing going, because I'm going to publish that this year, hell or high water. But I'm not going to do that now. Because, well, mainly because I don't have a manuscript in front of me to do this. I did a reading an audiobook on my channel. They never noticed. It's funny what they catch. It's pretty amazing that they pick that up. I know, right? So here's the thing. I was debating as I restarted this at the last minute, turning it into a Q&A. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to put that in my back pocket for Saturday. And yeah, there are reasons why that will go down that way, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So instead, this just becomes a chance for us to chat. So, okay, Random Whovian, it's kind of cute what you've been doing, but you are at this point spamming the chat with that topic, so I am going to politely ask that you ease off. I haven't even formally presented my own iteration of the Doctor, so it's a bit of a leap to be asking that in the first place. Are you in quarantine? Sort of. So I live in Vermont, and we have a stay-at-home order. So it's not the harshest lockdown that a governor could theoretically issue, but it does mean that all non-essential business, so anything not related to food and medicine, is closed. So restaurants are still doing takeout. Obviously, the grocery stores are open. The drugstore is open. But everything else is closed, and we are supposed to stay in our homes. Now, here's the thing. You might be thinking, oh, great, you'll get so far ahead on your stuff. The thing is, I won't, because I can actually do my day job from home, which means I am still putting in a full 9 to 5 on even under quarantine. So, which I appreciate. It means I get to sustain my job. It doesn't impact my income, and that's a good thing. But I'm not actually gaining time by this, unless you want to count commute time, so maybe an hour a day I'm gaining, and that's about it. So, I am going to try and follow the chat, but since I'm reading it off of my phone, it's going to whiz by me quickly, so I'm probably going to miss most of it. 100,000 subs. He'll do it with the camera adjusted. Well, no, because at 100,000, I will probably desperately need to maintain what I'm at. And if I adjust this at a, let's say, more enticing angle, my whole channel could get closed down very, very quickly. I like the spirit of your idea, but the reality is that that won't work. What kind of wine? I'm drinking wine too, very curious. This is a mix that I did. This is a Malbec mixed with cranberry juice, like real cranberry juice, not cranberry juice cocktail, like the actual unsugared stuff that most people cannot swallow. I can swallow, it's okay. Somebody's gonna clip that and use it out of context. But yeah, so that's like trying to come off as not a complete alcoholic. That's why it was as full as it was, because it wasn't 100% wine. There was other stuff in there as well. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's like sugared Mexican restaurant wine. I'm supposed to be catching up on schoolwork instead of watching my favorite YouTuber's live stream from a bathtub. That would be an interesting thing to send to your instructors as for why you didn't get work done. We'll see if that works. You remind me of Jack Harkness. I have my Harkness days. I won't lie. Dear God, I have conservative parents, and if they walk in, it would be a lot to explain. I think if your conservative parents saw you watching me, even not in this setting, there would probably be questions that would need to be answered. I tend to, particularly conservative-minded people, I tend to throw them off on sight, you know, even before I start talking. Oh, that's good. Let's see. Will you be re-ranking the Doctor? I don't know if that was the Doctors or the Doctor season. I'm not planning on doing any fresh. Well, I'll back up. I'm gonna wait a little bit because I kind of need some distance from Series 12. I might do a re-ranking of the series. I'm not gonna re-rank the Doctors until Whittaker's wrapped up her run. Similarly, I'm not gonna re-rank the Masters until we've had at least one more series of Sacha Dhawan's Master, possibly not until he has finished his run as well. So those things are on hold. I may do a series re-rank. Not this month. Maybe next month. I don't know. I don't have the docket directly in front of me. See, the funny thing is, did you see the Rose prequel? I saw that it went up. I didn't get into it. Is this a proper bathroom, like with the room? No, this is a proper full bath. There's the tub. It has a shower, sink. Actually, the washer and dryer are up here too. So yeah, no, it's a proper full. It's got a closet. The bathroom has its own closet. I actually live in a fairly big house. I have no plans to do a full tour of my house. That's a little privacy invasive, but it's, strictly speaking, it's bigger than I need. But I like it. So there you go. I really vibe with Sacha as the Master. I did enjoy him. I would like to see a bit more of him not being the catalyst for a mystery box. So I want to see what he's like when his story is not so directly tied to whatever the series arc is. And that may sound like, well, why would you bring back the Master if you're not going to involve him in the series arc? Except that I would say all of Missy's best stuff was fairly superfluous to series arc material. So I kind of want to see what he does when he doesn't have to play a series narrative device as much as a character. Stream through all the isolation. Well, here's the funny thing. Are you going to rank the sonic screwdrivers? I get that question every now and then, and I've put it up multiple times in the Patreon for when I've asked the Patreon supporters to pick which list they want me to do. And it's never won. So, like, I know people want it, and I keep offering it up, but it doesn't get voted on. So, there's a plug for the Patreon, I suppose. If you want to lend your voice to those polls when they come up, you can vote at any tier of support. Here's the funny thing right now. I'm actually sweating a little bit because I do baths right on the border of scalding. So even though my arm and my head have not gone in the water, I am actually starting to sweat from the heat and from the steam coming out of the bath. So by my not properly submerging, it's sort of a combination bath and sauna, which I can feel the beads of sweat right there at the temple. Bubble elbow. You know, I'm running out of bubbles. Hold on, I've got a little. Yes, bubble elbow. Bana. I don't know. That sounds like a euphemism for something unpleasant. Are you going to review PS? Yes. Yes, I am. So many people have been asking for a while whether I was going to review. Yes, I'm going to review PS. What I need to do is I need to decide whether or not I'm going to lump it together with The Great Detective, which I know like they don't go together, but I don't know if I'm going to get a full video's worth of material out of just talking about PS. So I need to figure out how many things I have to say about it before I decide whether I'm going to do it by itself or lump it with another one of the supporting shorts. I feel like ranking the sonic screwdrivers, and I've lost it. Sorry. If you write something long, it's going to get bumped out. You getting Disney Plus. I haven't gotten it yet. That said, I have seen The Mandalorian, because I have a friend who has it. I keep forgetting that I finished that series. Would you recommend Red Dwarf and Buffy? Yes. Yes to both. I have to go to bed. Well, not have to, but I'm tired. That is fair. First live stream in months. This is the way. I have spoken. And it's funny, because I've seen The Mandalorian criticized by some folks as being very safe. And I suppose in a way it kind of is, especially for, I got sweat on my lenses, especially for any fans who kept up with the expanded universe before that was turned into Star Wars Legends and made non-canon. Because it's that kind of thing that they did a lot. So in many ways, it is like an expanded universe story just done as a TV show. And if you've already been following that kind of material, then, you're going to feel like this is very familiar. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that'll vary from person to person. But I think here's the thing about The Mandalorian. I think it is a valid way to do Star Wars. I don't want it to become the only way that Star Wars is done, in terms of this bit more nostalgia-driven. Look, for all my problems with The Last Jedi, I don't fault it for trying to go into a new direction. It did not work for me, but I don't feel that that's an inherently bad thing or something that the franchise should stop doing. So while The Mandalorian is a bit of a warm, gentle nostalgia bath, and there's certainly an audience for that, I don't want that to become all that new Star Wars material is. So that's where I'm nervous. Is it a risque live? Yeah, a little bit. Is there a feature-length episode of Red Dwarf? Back to Earth? Maybe? I can't remember how long that is. I only saw it the once. Back to Earth is a weird beast, and I remember filing that under good execution of a bad idea. The core concept of Back to Earth I didn't like at all, but if they were going to do that idea, they did it pretty well. Red Dwarf season 7 and 8 opinions. Oh, I need to remember which is which. Like, my favorites are 1 through 3. Just because that's what first hooked me into it. Hang on. I'm not sick. I had a little wine that was like dangling on the edge of going down the wrong pipe. So, like, those are my nostalgic favorites, but there's certainly good stuff in the later series. 8 was they had found Red Dwarf again, as I recall. I remember thinking again that core idea for that series I didn't like, but the episodes weren't bad. I do think it was a bit of a step down, though. What would be your ideal Doctor Who episode? Oh. See, if we're talking modern Who, I honestly don't know. But the thing is, there are the Doctor Who episodes that I love for different reasons because they do different things. You know, I love Midnight for different reasons than Vincent and the Doctor, for different reasons than Heaven Sent, for different reasons than Mummy on the Orient Express, for different reasons than Can You Hear Me? So there is no one ideal story for me of Doctor Who. Not in the modern era, at least. I do think it's distinctly possible that City of Death, the 4th Doctor serial, might be the closest to being my ideal of Doctor Who, but I hesitate to say that they should go back to that because when you compress that down to about half the length, it doesn't quite have enough room to breathe. So what I love about City of Death is it has an intriguing, time-bending concept behind it. It has terrific chemistry and lines and riffs between the characters, and it's very funny. But the thing is, you condense that down to a single episode. You condense that down to 45 minutes, and you have to sacrifice one of those, basically. You have to decide, is this a funny episode? Is this a mind-bending episode? Is this we're trying to make the peril seem really tangible episode? Back in the classic era, you had the time to have an episode do multiple things. And there are some two-parters that come close. I'd say something like The Empty Child Doctor Dances is about as close as I've seen New Who get to sort of my platonic ideal of what Doctor Who is. But again, keep in mind that a huge part of what I love about Doctor Who is the freedom that its premise allows, because you can travel anywhere in time and space. That frees you up to have completely different tones from episode to episode. So even as I say that, I still wouldn't want a Doctor Who series where every episode had that feel and that vibe. The variety is a big part of it to me, even when the variety doesn't work, like Series 11, because that variety did not work for me. But I still appreciate that it was a buffet table with many different flavors. I wish I'd liked more of them, but, these things are going by so fast. We'd be ranking the sweaters and knives out. Oh, God, I really am sweating at this point. Oh, dear. Torchwood opinion? I've only seen Series 1, 2, and Children of Earth. I haven't seen Miracle Day. I haven't taken in any of the Big Finish. I never read the stuff. Torchwood was something that I was fine with on paper. The only time I thought it actually worked, at least that I saw, was Children of Earth. And the rest of the time, there were sporadic episodes that were good, but as a thing overall, this is why I have no intention of doing an episode-by-episode review of Torchwood, because I don't really want to rewatch Torchwood. And even Children of Earth, somebody had to commission me to get me to do that. And I'm glad they did. I was happy to rewatch it, but it... Torchwood was an interesting failure, is my opinion of it. Other people liked it a lot, and that's great. My standard answer is, I'm glad you liked it, I wish I did. And that's true in virtually all cases. There are very few shows or episodes or movies where you liking it is going to cause me to judge you in some way. I'm not going to say there are none, but there's very few. By and large, if you like something I don't, I'm just going to go, well, I'm glad you liked it at least. Somebody should. Oh, that's lovely. Somebody put up a rumors things and it just zoomed by. I love your hands. Okay. See, it's funny because with my hands hanging out downward like this, like you can really see my veins. And this isn't like having to do with my age. Like I've always had incredibly prominent veins. And when I've got gravity working with me and, you know, all the blood is kind of pooling in them there, like they are crazy visible. Like, yeah. Like, look at this. I mean, if that's your thing, that's fine too. Any Doctor Who's audio stories on your wish list? On my wish list, no, because I buy them directly from Big Finish, by and large. I do have some that I have actually listened to and done reviews on, and those will be going up in the future, and I'll leave it at that for now. Any WhoTubers you'd want to do a collab with? Oh my God. I mean, all right, setting aside the fact that I've already done collaborations with Ace Creeper, Crispy Pro, and Stu Bagful, all of whom I would happily work with again. But setting that aside and going with ones who I have not done anything with, let me think. So, I mean, you can decide for yourself whether you want to count the inclusions I had for things like the WhoTube Awards as collaborations. I have been meaning to do something with Wingy Media forever, and it just, seriously guys, the logistics of planning this stuff when you have a full-time job and a kid is nuts. So, yeah. So that hasn't happened yet, but I have talked to him. Mr. Hardest reviews I'd be up for, might depend on the topic. I know Theories has reached out to me. I gotta get back to him, and because off the top of my head, I can't remember what his topic suggestion was, so I can't remember if it was tied to Series 12 or not, and I couldn't make it work at that time, so I should get back in touch with him again. I don't know if you'd consider him a WhoTuber, because he kind of jumps topics a lot, but I'd be happy to do something with Channel Pup. I enjoy his work. Drink recommendations, whatever you like. Like, what I like to drink may not be what you like to drink. At the moment, I am drinking a mixture of cranberry juice and Malbec red wine, and I've got a fridge stocked with hard cider, and I have, what else have I got? I've got a Riesling. I'm saving that one. That one's an emergency bottle, because Riesling's like my normal go-to wine. Why did you ruin cranberry juice? Okay, I'm gonna point out, it wasn't cranberry juice cocktail. It was like the real stuff, like the straight up, legit cranberry juice, which I am capable of drinking, but it's a little harsh, all right? I like to think that adding red wine is more, hold on, sorry. Had a reminder pop up. It's more mellowing out the cranberry juice than adding cranberry juice to the wine. If you could have a Doctor Who spin-off, what would it be? See, that's tough because the first things off the top of my head have already been done by Big Finish. Like Missy has her own series on Big Finish. And I would totally have watched a spinoff about Missy. Other than that, like spinoffs aren't usually my bag, broadly speaking. Trying to think if there's any others that like would actually be something I would give a shot to and watch. Because like I never got around to Class, because that felt so tangential. Or is it tangential? I don't know. I'm drinking. But yeah, I don't know. Spinoffs so rarely work. I don't tend to think in terms of spinoffs most of the time. Especially considering I don't feel like Doctor Who needs spin-offs because it gets such a complete refresh with each new Doctor and each new showrunner. So the general nature of a spin-off, to have something in that world that feels different, you can already get in the show itself just by resetting with a new Doctor. So, and maybe that's part of why I don't think too much of that. Somebody mentioned the Time War. Like, I have no interest in the Time War. I have at this point listened to excuse me, 2 different Big Finish box sets that had the Time War as an impact. And one of them I liked pretty well, some interesting stuff. The other one I did not like very much at all. And the whole thing with the Time War is like, to me, the Time War should be a conflict that is waged in a way that is unfathomable to us. To even try to tell stories within that, I think is a fool's errand, because it inherently demystifies it. Now, if you wanted to tell stories about someone impacted by the Time War, somebody, a civilization, a group of people or whatever, on the outskirts of it and what it does to them, I can work with that, because most of the Time War stories I've heard, and I say heard because they've all been Big Finish, have basically done that, where the presence of the Time War was either a looming threat or its fallout had some sort of impact on the story, but the story itself was not set in the heart of the thing. Because those stories, I really don't care. Are you going to review classic series once you finish Overdue Who? I've been doing classic reviews on the podcast, on the Council of Geeks podcast, which I don't plug anymore because I update it so infrequently. But that's where I've been putting classic Who reviews. And the reason for that is the stupidest possible reason, which is that the views on classic reviews were always significantly lower. They actually they tended to fall below my normal threshold for what I consider to be a successful video. So committing to doing videos on Classic Who basically meant committing myself to release underperforming material on a regular basis, and that's just, in the reality of YouTube, that's a bad idea. So that's the reason I started reviewing it on the podcast, was to basically give me a reason to keep, not that I don't like it anyway, but my time is so limited, I kind of need to be reviewing it in some way, otherwise I don't get to stuff. So that's been why I started doing those on the podcast. Now, that was supposed to be weekly, then bi-weekly. At this point, it's been monthly. And I would like to pick up the speed on that. I can't promise I will. But go ahead and subscribe to the Council of Geeks podcast to keep up with those. Somebody asked what I think of the Third Doctor. I think Jon Pertwee is great. I think he's incredibly charming. His era, I have slightly more mixed feelings about, but he's terrific. Like, here's the thing. There are really only 2 Doctors that I don't particularly care for. And then the rest of them, no matter where they would fall in a ranking that I might do or have done, I still like them. It's just a question of liking others more. So the only ones that I don't really care for are the War Doctor and the Fifth Doctor. And in both cases, I wish I liked them. I wish I got more out of them. But they don't click with me. And to be fair, with the War Doctor, there's less material for me to try and keep finding a way to connect to it, but, you know, that's just the reality of it. With the Third Doctor, I mostly remember the sexism. Okay, but did you remember that legitimately, or did that crop up when that video of John Pertwee being the Doctor in the 80s for some sort of office thing talking about computers, when that made its rounds around Twitter? Because I feel like that put a big highlight on the sexism and made people go, oh. I'm not saying it's not there, but for me, for the most part, it has rarely derailed my enjoyment of a story in Doctor Who. So, you know, your mileage may vary. What do you think of Adric? Adric was a mistake. Controversial question, who should follow on from Jodie? I would just say let Joe Martin take it up after this. Like, honestly. I'll warn you, but I'm watching these things scroll past. You do a longer comment, I'm not gonna catch it. Who's your favorite Farscape character or two? This is I'm not sure it's a deep cut, but only people who really know the show will know this one. I think Harvey is probably my favorite Farscape character. I really, really love him. Beyond that, I don't know, I do really like Crichton. I feel like he's one of the better leads in a sci-fi show like that. Because usually the leads have a tendency to be either boring or to suck all the oxygen out of the room so nobody else gets a shot. And he does neither of those things, but still really works. I loved Harvey too. Nice. Oh, nice to have approval on that. What do you think of Nyssa, and have you heard of Josh Snares? I am familiar with Josh Snares, and I am also familiar with his companion ranking scheme as to how Nyssa each companion is, with Nyssa being the highest possible rank. I enjoy Nyssa. I don't think, at least over the course of the stories that I've seen of the Fifth Doctor, I don't think that Nyssa was particularly well utilized. But I actually argue that about most of the companions. Did you ever watch the show Lex? I didn't. I mean, I knew it was a thing. Hold on, somebody did a super chat. Do you think 8 should have been in the Time War? No, not really. Because, like, first of all, I love Night of the Doctor, not only for his performance, but because I think that whole concept is very cool. That there's a Doctor, basically, whose entire existence began and ended with being in the Time War. I think that's a neat idea, even though I don't particularly like the War Doctor. So, love some Lex. Yeah, I feel like I watched an episode or two of Lex, and it didn't quite gel with me. I'm not sure why not. I remember it being on the Sci-Fi Channel, like, at the same time as, well, not, like, literally at the same time, but around the same time as Farscape. How much has your thoughts on the Sixth Doctor improved since you've, heard his Big Finish stuff? Immeasurably. The Sixth Doctor is done so much better in Big Finish than he was ever done on the show proper. It is insane how much better he is. And I do put a lot of that down to pairing him with much better companions, especially Evelyn Smythe. She was the perfect companion to him, and he didn't really work with the other ones that he was given. So, have you ever watched the Sarah Jane Adventures? And if not, would you watch it? I feel like I answer that question a lot. I've seen the first 2 series of the Sarah Jane Adventures. They were fine. I don't love it, but it's not because it's bad. It's because it's aimed at such a much younger demographic than I am a part of that it just doesn't connect with me. It's the kind of show that is pitched at such a young age that that at least for me, unless I grew up with it, I have a hard time watching it. So, like, to make a comparison, there are cartoons from the 80s that I love and will happily rewatch, like the real Ghostbusters, like Thundercats. But if I try and watch the other shows that were going on at the same time and were probably of comparable quality, like, say, G.I. Joe, I can't get through them because I have no nostalgia for them. And I feel like you kind of need the nostalgia to get over the hump of things aimed at a significantly younger audience a lot of the time. Not always, but often. And that's sort of the case with me and Sarah Jane. I'm going to have to wrap this up soon. The water is starting to cool off. So, let's see. Would you watch Torchwood if they did new episodes? Or are you almost fully done with it? If they did new episodes, I'd certainly... Whoop, hold on. Stopper came loose. There we go. If they did new episodes of Torchwood, I would certainly check them out. I wouldn't be, like, against watching it, but I'm not asking for that to happen. What kind of master story would you write? I've never really thought about it because I feel like you would write a very different story for any given master. Or not any given master, but for, oh, wow, the back of my head is so sweaty. So I have to settle on what master I would be writing before I could even think about starting like that. But like my brain doesn't really work that way because I know that I will never have the opportunity to do that. So that's why that's part of why I'm really bad at things like fan theory or how I would run a show or what have you, because if I try and do those exercises, part of my brain goes, why are you spending creative energy on this? It will never happen. And it makes it really hard for me to progress down that thought process that you need to do things like fan theories and speculation videos even, to be honest. Have you heard of the 90-minute Red Dwarf special coming next month? I have. That's about all I know. I just know it's a thing. Have you ever seen the Doctor Who EastEnders crossover? If yes, thoughts. If no, would you? I have not seen it. I am aware of it. It's on the list of things to maybe eventually do at some point. So unless somebody commissions me to do it, probably not anytime soon. So this water has gone lukewarm on me. So I am going to call it a night. So, hope you had fun. I'm sorry we couldn't do what was originally planned. The bots swooped in so fast. So, thanks for stopping in. I hope that you are all staying safe. Whatever you need to do to unwind and relax. Obviously, you see what I have opted to do today. So, stay safe, be well, and remember, you are beautiful, you are valid, you are loved. You are the council, I'm just running the meetings. Tonight from a bathtub. Have a good night, folks.